I'd like to call this meeting to order, and at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Master Sergeant Coffey, who is the advisor for PCHS ROTC program. So, Master Sergeant Coffey.
Oh. So, is his mic on? Yes. His mic.
To the flag.
United States of America,
of America.
to the
To the
republic,
republic for
which
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would, remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Ms. Sawyer, roll call, please.
Sharon Warden,
Present.
Pam Pereza,
Here.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence,
Here.
Dr. Sheila Williams,
Present.
George Archuleta,
Here.
and Virginia Houston is joining us virtually.
Present.
Thank you.
And at this time, I'm going to call on Ms. Houston for the ethics, awareness, and identification of conflicts or potential conflicts of interest statement. Ms. Houston?
Welcome to this meeting of the Elizabeth City County Board of Education. It is my duty to remind members of this board that it is your responsibility to avoid all conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest in accordance with Chapter 138A of North Carolina General Statutes. As public servants, it is our duty to continually monitor, evaluate, and manage our personal, financial, and professional affairs in such a way as to ensure the absence of conflicts or potential conflicts. Does any member know of any conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest with respect to any matter coming before this board this evening? Let the record reflect that no conflicts exist.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. And now I'd like to move to approve the November 22nd regular meeting agenda as presented, and I need a second for that. Second. And a roll call vote.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence,
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams,
Yes.
George Archuleta,
Yes.
Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you.
And now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Dr. Ingram, who is going to present his report.
Thank you, Chair Warden, board members, members of the audience. Thank you to the Pasquotank County JROTC for that wonderful posting of the colors. I certainly appreciate that. It gives an extra air of dignity to the occasion, and I appreciate their hard work. A lot of hard work goes into that. Last Thursday, I was pleased to participate in a panel discussion at ECSU virtually in celebration of American Education Week. Enjoyed sharing thoughts on leadership with the students. Thank you, Dr. Williams. That was a lot of fun. It was a quick hour and 10 minutes. So thank you for that. Would like to remind the board that during our normal January meetings, we'll take part of those meetings to follow up on the professional development that we did November 6th. We'll be completing our concept statements or your concept statements and your protocols about how you will conduct your business. Would certainly like to wish everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving holiday. In the spirit of thankfulness, we're going to, it's an optional work day, so we will allow employees who do not have leave to work remotely from home, if you have no objection to that, like we did on the 12th. Also would like to mention that this Friday, Thanksgiving is really neat when you have high school football on Friday after Thanksgiving, and we have that opportunity this Friday. We'll all be rooting for the Eagles as we host Wallace Rose Hill in the 4th round. Game time starts at 7. It'll be cold, so if you're in town and want to root the Eagles on, wrap up because it's going to be a chilly one, I think. And again, happy Thanksgiving to all, and thank you, Chair Board. That concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Ingerman. I would like to echo happy Thanksgiving from the board to everyone on the staff, custodians, teachers, cafeteria, maintenance, everyone who does great things for Elizabeth City, Pasquotank County Schools. And now I need a motion from the floor to take action on approving the minutes for October 25th, November 1st, and November 15th. May I have that motion, please, from the floor? Okay, and a second? Okay, and a roll call vote.
Pam Perezza.
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
George Archuleta.
Yes.
And Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay. And we have Mr. Nick Stanley, who has signed up for public comment. I believe he may be here to give us some notification about how well the band at Pasquotank County High School has done in their competitions. And we're very, very proud of them, Mr. Stanley. So.
Evening, Board Chair, Board, Dr. Ingram, Board members, PS personnel. So my name is Nick Stanley. I'm the director of Pasquotank County High School. Wanted to thank each of you personally for your continued support from ECPPS band for attendance at our events, not on notice. Football games, to our own band competition we hosted in October. Can you hear me now? All right. As I was saying, I want to thank you all personally for showing up to our events this year, from football games to our own competition in October, even going on the road with us once. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and I'd like to thank you. Just to give you a recap of this season, over half of our band had never marched before this past July. Even though we had some challenges in the band, we stood strong, kept our eye on the prize, and never backed down. I'm here tonight to not only thank you, but to spotlight our students. PCHS band brought home 15 awards this marching season. Of those awards, they never took home less than a 3rd place overall band in their class. We had as many as 8 bands in our class at certain competitions. This included a 1st place overall in class at the Eats and Peanut Festival, as well as the fan favorite at the Hickory High School Southeastern Virginia Music Games in Chesapeake. The majority of our awards this year were 1st place in different categories such as drum major, music, and visual. With me tonight, again, those awards. Lastly, over the summer, a local business asked me if Pasquotank and Northeastern would consider having a joint concert. After about 30 seconds or less of thinking, I agreed absolutely yes. And I'm pleased to announce that Northeastern High School and Pasquotank County High School, for the first time, We'll be having a joint Christmas concert this year at College of the Albemarle,
Wow.
on Monday, December 13th, 7 p.m. We're still finalizing details with central office to make sure everything's in place as far as COVID protocols. But this is the formal invitation on behalf of myself, and I think I can speak for Mr. Griffin, the director of Banza. Again, thank you so much for your support. And as we like to say, you can't have that Panther pride. Go Panthers.
Thank you, Mr. Stanley, for the great job you're doing.
Thank you.
As I indicated in an email to you, you're small in numbers, but you guys are mighty. So you're doing a great job. So keep it up. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on with the agenda. The consent agenda, we need to take action on that. So I need a motion to approve those things and a second.
Approve the items on the consent agenda.
And I need a second.
Second.
And just to be clear, those items are the budget amendments, the fundraisers, the consolidated school improvement plans for Central Elementary, Pasquotank County High School, and Northside Elementary School. They were all discussed at our committee meeting last week. So with that motion, I need a second.
I think we just did.
Had a second?
I think we did.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, roll call vote then.
Pam Perezza.
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
George Archuleta.
Yes.
And Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Okay. Now I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised meeting times for December 2021 as presented. Those revised times, we're going to move December the 6th, our reorganization meeting, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then on December 13th, we're going to change the time from 4 to 5. So if there's no discussion about that, I need a second from the
Second.
floor. Okay. And we'll take a roll call vote on that.
Pam Perezza.
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
George Archuleta.
Yes.
And Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much. Now we have Donna Winborn here to give us her audit presentation, and let's hope it was very good. Donna, thank you. Any questions for anyone? I want to express my sincere thanks for all the work that you and your staff have done to complete this. And we are very aware that our finance department is top-notch. So we appreciate you confirming that for us. But thank you again for your hard work, and have a great Thanksgiving. Just put them on the front. Okay. I assume you don't need the letters back.
Thank you, Donna.
Okay. Now we have a transportation update from Ms. Hill, who,
We need to
is
take
she
action.
here or is she joining us? Oh, okay, Ms. Haynes, all right. Before we move on with Ms. Hill, okay. Oh, okay, we need to take action on that, I'm sorry. All right, so I need a motion to accept the auditor's report. And a second.
Move that we accept the audit report as presented.
Second. Okay, and a roll call vote.
Pam Perezza.
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams. George Archuleta.
Yes.
Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
See, Ms. Haynes keeps us all straight, so, okay, thank you, Ms. Haynes. All right, now we're going to move on to Ms. Hill, who is here to give us a transportation update. Ms. Hill?
Vice Chair Perezza, School Board Superintendent Ingram, and all of you listening. I just want to give a quick update of where we're looking at right now as far as bus drivers are concerned. From day one of school opening to today, we have lost 6 and hired 3. Another potential, as soon as it gets approved, then we have 1 more that will be starting. Out of the original class that we had 35 signed up, 15 of them showed up and only 10 of them passed. So out of those 10, we have only received 2 as of today. 1 just started today. And like I say, we're waiting on approval for another one. And the 1 person, he's already started about 3 weeks ago and is an excellent bus driver. Any questions for me?
And how many are we still lacking again?
We're lacking about 25 right now.
25?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
will get more detail. I will say that the federal motor carrier is changing the way you have to get a CDL beginning in February. So it's going to make it very difficult. I'm still working on getting all the details of exactly what that's going to look like. But instead of going through the short 3-day classroom, 3 days on the road training that we do now, and then waiting 14 days for your permit to do the class, it's going to be a 4-week process to even go through the original training. And it's going to be very rigorous. So like I say, we're still waiting on a lot of updates coming from my trainer to see exactly what that's going to look like for us. But just to kind of give you that heads up of something that might be coming down the pipe.
Question, do you have a plan? What kind of plan do you have in place to try to get more? I know we increased pay. We did the bonus program as a board. What kind of plans do you have, or do you have any plans in place yet to gain more drivers?
Word of mouth, talking to drivers telling people to call us, people steadily calling. It's slowed down quite a bit from when it originally came out. We're not getting as many applicants as before. And we have found that some are going through the training and then they're actually taking their CDL elsewhere.
Once you said some of them failed the test. Once they fail the test,
If they
how,
fail, they're able to test, but that's up to the DMV person that we have, Mr. Watts, as in his schedule, because as you know, we share him with 7 other counties. So we're waiting on him right now to give me a date to retest the 2 that failed on Friday.
So there's no waiting period for retest. It's all up to the instructor and when he has time to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
and they can go to another county to test, or they have to do it only in our county?
They can go to another county, but it's the same person because he's with all the counties.
Right. What I'm saying, Vito. So you're saying you have to wait on him to get them back in? Is it waiting on him to do another class here, or just another class anywhere?
Another class anywhere. So say if he were to go to say Perquimans and they have a person that needs to test, but only 1, and he needs another body, he will call me and say, do you have anybody ready to retest? And that's when I would send that person to them. And then he would, because he needs a minimum of 2 people on the bus at a time. So if they need, that extra person, or vice versa. If I only have one and somebody surrounding county needs, to get somebody in, by all means.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hill.
Thank you. Y'all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Pereza, Chair of the Personalized Education Committee.
Thank you. We have Dr. Amy Spencer, who will begin the presentations for the Consolidated School Improvement Plans.
Good evening, Board Chair Warden, Vice Chair and Committee Chair Pereza, Interim Superintendent Dr. Ingram, board members, colleagues, and guests. Before I begin tonight, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the educators and the teachers and board members, family members, students. Just wanted to say have a good Thanksgiving break. Tonight, we have principals from 5 of our schools here to present their school improvement plans. Each school analyzed data and identified areas of improvement. They established goals and strategies as their focus for this school year to address those areas. The school improvement plans you have before you outline these goals and strategies. This evening, you will hear from 5 principals and the highlights of these plans. First, you will hear from Mr. Paulette, principal at Hl Trigg Community School. Then Ms. Danae Banks, principal at J.C. Sawyer Elementary. Dr. Nathan Soul, principal at Northeastern High School. Dr. Melissa Bond, principal at River Road Middle School. And Dr. Katina Waples, principal at Sheep Harney Elementary School. We will begin with Mr. Paulette.
Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Pereza, school board members, Superintendent Ingram, central office personnel, and invited guests. It is my pleasure to talk to you about the great things going on at Hl Trigg. Trigg's mission is to provide students with a variety of academic, social, emotional, and life skills to prepare them for success in the school setting and beyond. Our staff is currently made up of 4 middle school teachers, 1 high school teacher, a half-time EC teacher, a counselor, and 1 TA who serves with our credit recovery folks. We're currently seeking 3 more high school teachers. We have no applicants at this time, but we're continuing to look and recruit folks as best we can. Our student breakdown, the majority of our students, as you can see, are 8th graders. These 8th graders were not very successful during the pandemic and in virtual learning. They were retained in 8th grade. We're working very hard with them to get them prepared to go to 9th grade in the 2nd semester of this school year. And I'm happy to say the majority of them are on track to not only go back to their home high school, but earn 2 credits while they're with us. So they'll only be slightly behind when they get to high school. Why are students at Hl Trigg? There's a variety of reasons. These are just some of them. Academic issues, poor attendance, a need for a smaller setting, a lack of social or coping skills, and long-term suspension. So we have a variety of students who are there for a variety of reasons. All of them seem to have a few traits in common that I'll speak about now. Our data for the students that were at Hl Trigg last year is very limited. Those students were reassigned to their home schools due to the pandemic and online learning. But what we know about the students that we have in the building right now, they're lacking in several areas. They need specific instruction in academic, they lack study skills, and the ability to successfully transition back to their own home schools. Students were also lacking in social emotional skills and life and study skills that are necessary to navigate through the high school world. So what are we doing about it? The ARC program. The ARC program was designed by myself and Mr. Marcus White, my school counselor. It is a program that focuses on 3 critical factors. Those critical factors are integrated into every single thing we do all day long. Those factors being academic skills, social emotional skills, and life skills. The goal is to get these kids to trade for short-term help them practice the skills that they're going to need, that they haven't already explicitly learned. Practice them in a small setting, make mistakes while they're with us, learn from those mistakes, apply those strategies across multiple platforms and multiple situations, get them back to their home schools as quickly as possible so that they continue with their education, be successful, graduate, go on to college and career ready, whatever their choice may be. Having said that, our school improvement goals are aligned with those missions. Our students are explicitly taught study and thinking skills integrated into their content to develop skills necessary to be successful in their high school courses. Some strategies we're using is the first 2 weeks of school, we spent a lot of time identifying their strengths and their weaknesses. We did a lot of testing, we did a lot of talking, we did a lot of interacting with the students. The last 10 weeks, we've been working on teaching them specific strategies that they can use in every subject area. These strategies are some things from simple reading strategies to problem-solving skills to time management skills. All of these things my kids were lacking, and it was making it difficult for them to be successful in their class. Our second goal that we're focusing on is students will develop and monitor goals based on their weaknesses that they identify themselves using an inventory scale and teacher feedback. Again, during those first 2 weeks of school, we spent a lot of time talking with the kids, helping them understand where they went wrong, helping them understand what they could do to improve themselves. Our kids have big dreams. They want to be doctors, they want to be lawyers, they want to be musicians, they want to be construction workers, one wants to be a truck driver. Everything you could possibly think of that kind of ran the gambit from going right into the world of work after high school to multiple years of college and advanced degrees. We helped them identify what it would take to get to those places. We helped them identify where they were weak and what mistakes they made through middle school, through elementary school that got them into the situation. We had some very frank, some very open and honest conversations with these kids, and they really responded to it. Each kid sat with myself and Mr. White after we did all these things in the classroom, and we developed a Google form for them. In that Google form, they have 3 goals: an academic goal, a behavioral goal, and a learning goal. Every day they monitor themselves. There's no grade for it. There's no follow-up. There's no trouble. You don't get in trouble if you don't do it. It's trying to build that skill in them that if you set a goal and monitor that goal, you will succeed in that goal. That's a skill that every person in this room probably has and does it without even thinking about. It's a skill my kids don't have and desperately need to work on. So those are the things that we're working on at Hl Trigg this year. And like I said, of the students, the majority of them being those 8th graders that are in between, the majority of those kids are on track to go back to school, go back to their high school, and I'm confident they're going to be successful when they get there. Any questions for me?
I would just make a comment. You mentioned that they have dreams of being doctors and lawyers and things like that. That should not go unheeded. My family physician, when I was superintendent in Franklin County, his wife was on the school board. He was a high school dropout. And he became a medical doctor, quite accomplished. But he marched to the beat of a different drummer. And Mr. Paulette, I just want to thank you for your service at Hl Trigg, and I look forward to, working with you even later down the road, perhaps in a more creative way to look at what we can do with the community to help our kids succeed.
It's an honor, and I'm having a lot of
Thanks.
fun, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm just echoing what Dr. Ingram shared. That's what I was thinking about in your presentation, just to hear you talk about and share their dreams, just sharing those dreams, and that you're having conversations with them because you want them to get there. I mean, regardless of the path they've taken and, to lead them where they are, you are showing them they can move beyond that. I think that's just so important. So I thank you for sharing that tonight.
I'm the same. I think you're doing a great job, but in your opinion, is it enough with just having that EC teacher for half or part-time?
We only have 4 EC students at the school at this time, so she's able to cover their needs during that halftime. Yes, yes. The Sears is awesome. She goes above and beyond. She does more. We share her with J.C. Sawyer, who's right down the alley. So if we need something, Ms. Banks has been very gracious about letting us share her, running back and forth. If they need something, we'll swap out time. And so we're making sure everybody gets what they need. But yes, absolutely.
Oh, you're doing
He's awesome.
great.
Thank you.
So I do have, so after visiting school, I saw the passion for you and your staff with the students. And I heard you say that most of your 8th graders are on track to transition out. Is there a goal or a plan of your second semester? How many is coming in? Or have we talked about that yet?
I don't have a specific number yet, but the plan for second semester is coming from Northeastern. Every year there are at least 10 to 12 kids in the 9th grade who don't pass any of their courses first semester. The plan is to meet with those kids, figure out which ones would be a good fit, get them over, run the same program with them to help them understand what it's like to survive in 9th grade, what you need to do to be a high schooler, the soft skills that they may or may not have or aren't used to practicing, help them develop those skills. My middle school teachers can teach up to 9th grade, so they'll be taking 9th grade courses again, either repeating them or taking them for the first time. The goal is for them to leave with at least 4 credits and possibly more if they have time to credit recover. Some of that's going to depend on which students come. That's the plan for this year, is to get 15 or so from Northeastern, 15 or so from Pasquotank, the few that stay behind who aren't quite ready to go yet, and work the same program again with them to help build those skills that they need.
All right. And how about the middle school, the 8th graders?
Those 8th graders are in transition. So at the middle of the year, they'll be mid-year promoted to 9th grade and return to their home schools. The ones that stay will be mid-year promoted and stay with us and start working on those 9th grade courses.
Thank you.
Of the middle school teachers that you need, I noticed you said there are 4 that you need. What curricular areas?
The 4 I have, we're doing PE because we're legally obligated to do PE with 8th graders. We're doing English, social studies, and the social studies teacher is actually teaching the 9th grade curriculum for world history, so they can get that world history credit while they're there. They'll get the PE credit while they're there, so they'll return to school with 2 credits. And then science, she's doing science and integrating math into the science class.
Okay. And the high school teacher that is needed?
High school teacher is our science teacher, so she works specifically with the kids on whatever science credit they need to take. She's doing earth science, biology, and physical science right now. But again, it's a very small number of high schoolers because of the staffing issue. The rest of the day, they work on credit recovery, the ones that are there. They've been in high school for a while and have some credits they need to get caught back up.
Good report, Mr. Paulette.
Thank you. Let me say 5 minutes is really hard, and then
Oh, I know.
we're doing it in 5 minutes, but I appreciate your time and thank you. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, now we will have Ms. Danae Banks from J.C. Sawyer.
Good evening. School Board Chair Sharon Warden, Vice Chair Pam Pereza, school board members, Interim Superintendent Dr. Ingram, distinguished guests, and my colleagues. My name is Danae Banks, and I am the proud principal of J.C. Sawyer Elementary School. Our theme for this school year is Dolphins Catch the Wave. We will work hard, act responsibly, be very respectful, and everyone will be safe. Who are we? We are J.C. Sawyer Elementary School Dolphins. We have a school population of 384 students, 179 males, 205 females. We have 21 classroom teachers. 80% of our teachers are fully licensed. We have 24% of our teachers with 0 to 3 years experience, 43% of our teachers with 4 to 10 years experience, and 33% of our teachers with 11 plus years of experience. We have 3 Connect teachers and 6 instructional assistants. We look at our data review. Looking at the data for the past 5 years at J.C. Sawyer, J.C. Sawyer was a low-performing school with an overall school grade of D in 2016, 2017. The last year that we received EVOS data was 2018, 2019. J.C. Sawyer had an overall school grade of C at that time. This year, we have set targets for the 2021, 2022 school year. For reading, we have a target of 65% of our students being proficient. Math, 63%. Science, 80%, with a school achievement score of 65%, which will give us a school performance score of 70, and that will equate to an overall school grade of B. How do we plan to reach that? We have set in place 3 goals. Our first goal, every student at J.C. Sawyer will receive high-quality instruction in order to prepare them for future and education and citizenship. J.C. Sawyer will provide meaningful opportunities for teachers to cultivate and build best teaching practices. This will meet the diverse student population that we have at J.C. Sawyer and develop a sense of unity. This goal will be measured through informal walkthroughs, PLC data meetings, and formal observations. What strategies do we have in place to support this goal? To create professional development sessions based on teacher and student needs, we will use data, observations, surveys from staff to determine needs. We have resilience training, I-Ready training, Abbott methodologies, MTSS training. Work with leadership to establish areas of need on teacher-submitted lesson plans, teacher-student, parent feedback, and formal and informal observations. Teacher evaluations, instructional walkthroughs, data PLCs, and weekly PLCs. We'll participate in district meetings for administrative staff focused on instruction, discuss best learning practices with my colleagues, review information from Dr. Spencer, professional reading, working with my mentor. We participate in the Schools That Lead, North Carolina School Forum, recently Ed Leader 21, and participate in bi-weekly principal meetings. Second goal, every student at J.C. Sawyer, based on current data, will receive small group instruction relative to their needs. J.C. Sawyer Elementary will provide data-informed lessons for reading and math. Teachers will analyze individual student data to develop small group instruction based on student needs of each student. Strategies that we have in place to support this goal: focused and intentional professional development for staff, I-Ready training, literacy first guided reading, Canvas and digital tools, resources, PLCs, which are data-driven, and MTSS, continued use of our data room, weekly PLCs and monthly data PLCs, a restorative strategies and training, tutors for grades 3 through 5, and a restorative facilitator. A third goal, there will be clear and consistent communication among all J.C. Sawyer stakeholders. J.C. Sawyer will increase the amount of targeted communication shared with all stakeholders. Strategies that we have in place to support this: Title I events, parent square notices, grade level newsletters, email and phone calls, parent-teacher conferences, and for morale boosters for staff and students. Some, just to name a few, we have donuts for staff, Christmas appreciation treat, 12 days of Christmas, Gene-themed days, motivational emails, staff games, and most recently, for school celebration, we have implemented Fridays for students. I've attached the Title I budget. We're allocated $46,633.11 for contracted services with tutors and a restorative facilitator. Estimate price of $35,000. Instructional supplies, $4,700. That will be leaving us with total allocated expenditures. Will be $40,200, leaving us with remaining unallocated funds of $6,433 that we will work on spending those after the Thanksgiving break. Are there any questions?
The only question I'd have is, the surveys and parent involvement, how's that all work?
But the surveys, we just surveyed with the teachers,
In general?
in general, we collect the information and then we just analyze the information and we group whatever the information, the findings that we have. And then we focus on.
Are you having success or participation?
Yes, we haven't done many parent surveys.
And the parent involvement?
Parent involvement right now with COVID restrictions, we have not had too much of parent involvement, but with our online and our Title I meetings online, we've had a great support from parents.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Banks?
Your tutoring program, is that handled by your staff or do you have outside?
We're gonna have outside
Okay.
retired teachers.
Okay, and that'll be after school?
Yes, ma'am.
You shared, seems that you definitely have your goals in place and, you know, you have your strategies listed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Ms. Banks.
All right. Now we will have Dr. Nathan Soul from Northeastern High School.
Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Pereza, Superintendent Ingram, Board, Central Office, and guests. I'm excited to share our school improvement plan. I'm going to have to look up a little bit, so we'll see how that goes. I think it's going to be all right. I just wanted to share, it's a little bit hard to see right there, but that's that beautiful tree right in front of the sign as you pull in Northeastern. It's just nice to be on the campus at Northeastern. I pull in every day and I just love to see the trees on the campus. Wait, oh, I have a clicker here. Here we go. So you can see that we've had a lot more activities over the last few months. We had the band play as students exited. We had a Power Puff game, socially distanced, of course. We're trying to emphasize more of the activities the kids love. Oops, I went back. So we're out at the Harris Demonstration Farm. Our kids are working out there. You can see some crops and they're smiling and excited. Right there in the front of the school, we've had some mulch and some other things done, flowers, trying to beautify the front. I'll share more about that in a little bit. Kids are excited about that. We had volunteers in a local church do that as well. We had a nice event in town where I learned a lot about Tommy Long, where we got to see the family, and many of you were there. I learned about the history of Northeastern, but also this family. And it was just a real honor to be there as a new principal and participate in that. I just wanted to share a quote as we go through this. This was from some training for principals early in the year. It isn't the changes that do you in, it's the transitions. And not to look at that in a discouraging way. Well, we had a lot of transitions, bringing kids back and teachers. And so we keep on looking forward. We have the lighthouse. We know where we need to go. We have our goals, but there have been a lot of things that we're working through that way, and there's been a lot of positive. This is our data. I'll just kind of briefly review this. You all have it, but we have identified subjects where for some reason throughout the pandemic, scores have not really decreased or they have actually gone up. And so with another, you can see the first row, we're looking at that and we saw a little dip in that subject. And so we provided an extra semester of support for students. We built that right into our schedule and students can get that support before they go into Math 1. So we're trying to make a difference right away, even with our scheduling. Our attendance is not where we'd like it to be. Our absence rate is a little higher. We're doing some things to try to improve that. Of course, we want to make sure that we're calling home. We had some ideas about using Parent Square a little bit better, so parents are automatically communicated with about absences, and just remind students how important it is. It is amazing when we let them know about their grades and we communicate that we have an improvement there. So we're expecting to see that improve too. I'd like to share our goals with you. Our first goal is the environment of the school, physical, social, emotional, and behavioral is safe, welcoming, and conducive to learning. Safety has really become one of the most important things that we've been talking about recently. And so our school improvement team have talked about goals and steps to take to make sure our campus is safe. First of all, we have our classroom walkthroughs. We want to make sure that administrators are visible or walking through the school. We have a walkthrough tool so we can provide feedback for teachers about what we see. PLCs provide a chance for us to analyze progress in classrooms and how to keep student engagement going. We know that student engagement will directly relate to positive behaviors in the classroom when we have great lessons and the kids are excited to be there. And so we talk about that in our PLCs. Also, social emotional learning and training has been important. I'll share about that in just a minute. We know students are still struggling a little bit to get back into routines and procedures. There's been a lot of progress, but we have to make sure we address that. We've had some, okay, this is another shot. You can't see that very well with the light, but right there in the middle picture, you can see that was right out there by the student lot. And then we had Town South Church came in and added some mulch and some flowers and some things to beautify the school. We have a program called Say Something that's been really important for our students. All our students are trained. It's an anonymous tip reporting system. You probably heard about it. Well, if students see that there's a threat or they feel like there could be a threat to themselves or others, they can use an app that they can download to report that. I have felt like students have been more forthcoming if they're concerned about a threat since we had that training. We also have a behavior intervention system. So students just aren't going to the in-school suspension room. They're not just in trouble. We want to try to address the root cause. So we shared a demo with our school improvement team a little while ago, asked them to review this. So if a student's struggling with defiance, there's a module that they can review. They can discuss that with our in-school suspension person. And we want to make it more about a restorative process and not just a punishment. So we're going to see how that goes. We're excited to continue to use that. We also received this from the Department of Justice about vaping. I've heard more and more concerns about this. I didn't realize that it was as extensive with youth. So we shared this with all teachers in their modules that they can use in the classrooms. I had a couple of teachers tell me that they've already started to use it, that they're talking to our students about it, and we're trying to figure out how we can teach our kids to make better choices. This is just one example of students talking at lunch. They may not be in a club yet. They're not in NHS, but they have interest. So a kid came up to me one day and he talking all about fishing. Someone else said they want to do random acts of kindness. So students are sharing with me club ideas, and we're going to have a first meeting for what he's calling an outdoor club. And then another student wants to do some random acts of kindness around Christmas, make some Christmas decorations and give them to a local nursing home. And so we're trying to allow the students to be empowered to do these things and to share their excitement. Seniors, I heard, I didn't know this until a few weeks ago, but some people in some districts paint their parking spots with paint that can be removed, of course. And so we are planning to allow seniors to do this sometime in early December. And some of the seniors are pretty excited about it. Our second goal is curriculum related. All teachers provide sound instruction in core class, whole class, small group, and computer based. So this is all about our PLC work and our curriculum. Of course, we meet in our PLCs, but we also want teachers to lead the PLCs. They have great ideas. They're the ones in the classrooms, and so we want to empower them to take the lead on that. What we have found is we have to make sure that we have scheduled, consistent meetings, that there's support by the administrators, and that we listen to what their concerns are. Secondly, we want to make sure we have small groups to support all of our students. We are partnered with Schools that Lead, and I'll share more about that in a minute. And also some professional development. Teachers may not be able to do the best if they don't have the best support. So NESIS has some program and development for data literacy. They can get right in there, do that in the PLC, and actually get some CEUs. This is the Schools that Lead. You're familiar with them already, but we've met with them a few times and developed our watch list at Northeastern, which is a list of students who are struggling in core academic areas, attendance and behavior. And the next step is for our MTSS team to get together and to continue a plan to support students who are struggling in these areas. We like to talk about research at our school. I found teachers just are real intellectual and savvy that way. And so you can see this little chart that individualized curriculum has the highest effect size in curriculum academic performance. And so we talk about articles in our PLCs. There's a potential partnership with the University of North Carolina to provide some coaching and also research with teachers, a select group of 3 or 4 who might need some additional support. And it's all about student engagement. So when we have outside researchers that want to talk to us and support our teachers, and teachers are excited about it, I'm excited. And so I'm trying to promote this, and I think it's going to be helpful. The third goal is all teachers employ effective classroom management and reinforce classroom rules and procedures. We're talking about all this all the time. We want to make sure students know from the time they walk in the door what the rules and expectations are, and we're always trying to get better at that. So in the classroom, if a teacher expects students to sit down, if we have a rule about hats, if we want to have a procedure in the hallway that is clear and consistent and that we reinforce it. Some things that we're doing to make sure we do that is we have restorative discipline practices. That was the program that I shared with you earlier, the 360 program with modules. We're trying to shift our thinking with the ISS room into more of a restorative where we train and teach. Also, we want to talk about digital citizenship. We still have issues where students are struggling with some technology. Not as much as I thought, but just understanding how to text correctly and email correctly. And so we're working through those things as well. Next month in 2 weeks, our SIT team actually is going to focus on this indicator. We're going to have one of our assistant principals lead that at the SIT team, and then we'll assign action steps to teachers who are interested in that particular area that we can come back and measure how we're doing. So it's true collaboration, and I'm excited about that. This is an article that we're sharing with teachers tomorrow who are going to be part of that SIT team and focusing on classroom management. And they will read this and review it. And then when they come back in 2 weeks at the SIT team, we will have notes and highlights and discuss our observations, our current level of implementation, and steps to move forward. And so I'd love to have a chance for everybody to be prepared and talk about how it's working. That's just the MTSS connection there. Our fourth goal is that we want to provide a broad spectrum of communication to the community through social media, meetings, announcements, newsletters. There is a school Facebook page. We brought it up at our SIT meeting, and we've tried to set a goal of posting once or twice a week. So we posted football announcements and events that are happening and testing, and I've used Parent Square quite a bit as well. I'd like to be a little more consistent, but at least once or twice a week we'll share events and information with parents. Not just that there's a late bus, but there's something exciting about to happen and sharing good and positive information. We're talking about scholarships as well. ECSU, some folks there just reached out to me earlier in the week and said that they plan to have a virtual scholarship summit and that there's more information coming. I shared this with parents. We surveyed seniors just a couple days ago, actually, to see if they have any questions about scholarships. Do you want to meet with a counselor to talk more about scholarships? What are some specific questions you have? And so we're looking at that information, and as soon as we come back from Thanksgiving, the counselors are going to get the results from that survey and follow up with every single student and parent who responded. Oh, that was it. That was it.
You on a roll?
Any questions?
Dr. Soul, I had just one observation. I was intrigued by the graph. You can't see it here, where you've got individualized curriculum way up there, way off the chart. And I kind of use the term personalized learning. So was this, I can't remember, what was the origin? Where did this data come from?
This is a guy by the name of Hattie, a researcher, and I think that was just in a presentation that we had in one of our professional developments. And I can find exactly where I found it later and share it with you.
Okay.
And we can do that in the classroom. Oh, sorry. Or, with some kind of flexible schedule, but I'll be happy to share with you where I
Have
found
you shared that with your staff?
We've
Have you shared this
discussed
data with your staff?
we've discussed some of that at our SIT team, but we probably need to review it again. Yes.
Okay. Just curious, because personalized learning is really something that we need to be thinking about if we're going to transform the educational model from the 20th century industrialized revolution model where everybody goes through an assembly line curriculum into something that's truly more individualized, where kids can can follow their passion and succeed in their passion. I was listening to a blog by the late Sir Ken Robinson, one of his last things this morning before work, and he illustrated this dancer that was, fidgety in school when she was a little girl and almost in line to drop out, but she ends up with an illustrious career in New York and ends up a multimillionaire. I mean, it's just, we need to encourage kids to follow their passions, not so much fit in the paradigm of what we think ought to be. And I don't want to get too deep or take up too much time, but those are discussions that I hope that we can have publicly starting in January, late January, with perhaps a public screening of most likely to succeed and then a community discussion about that. So anyway, thank you for sharing that information.
You're welcome. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Dr. Soul? All right, thank you. Okay, now we will have Dr. Melissa Bond from River Road Middle School.
Good evening, School Board Chair Sharon Borden, Vice Chair Pam Pereza, school board members, Interim Superintendent Dr. Ingram, and distinguished guests and my colleagues. I am Melissa Bond. Principal at River Road Middle School. Okay. Was a video. River Road, the one thing that I focused on since I got there is the one belief, one focus, one goal. We have a mission, we have a vision that's in line with that, but the one belief, one focus, one goal has been huge for our campus. And that is just the individualized focus on what education means for each student. And when kids have discipline issues, or when kids have great strides that they meet in and out of the classroom, that's one of the things that we keep bringing back to their mind is one belief, one focus, and one goal. And that goal is their education. So who we are as a school: population of 579 students, 27 teachers, economically disadvantaged 65%, ethnic composition not too much different than any of our other schools. Our school achievement and student enrollment continue to rise and have continued to rise pre-COVID. River Road Middle School teachers, staff, and community support are the reason why we continue to grow and the reason why we continue to succeed. This was from our last 70s day that we had, so the actually 90s day. The kids really got into our 90s day. You see the gold chain. Proficiency data overview, 2016, 2017.
What's wrong with
So
70s?
these grades, the one thing that I look at in this data, and again, I came in viewing this data. So one of the things that really stand out to me is the fact that they have steadily gotten better every single year. We are on target or trying to hit the target of being a B school. It did start out as a D school back in 2016, and they were able to bring it up to a C school. And we're hoping to make it a B school by this year or the end of this year. Growth data, they did exceed in 2017 and 2018. Unfortunately, because of COVID, there is no data for the 2019-2020 school years. But we are hoping, and a lot of the tests that we are doing pre and post tests in the classroom, it looks like we are on target for that. We are hoping that that is still going to be the case. Our pre-tests going into the school year look extremely promising for that data. Goals and strategies. Goal 1 was to maintain effective PLCs for teachers. Evidence PLCs are held bi-weekly. Effective PLCs, we're looking at data, rigor, unpacking standards, and collaborative planning. Supporting evidence that says that we are doing what we're setting out to do. Teachers feel supported in those PLCs and having them biweekly. Teachers have additional resources that are available to them so that they can meet those goals that they have set for themselves. And all of our teachers, especially our new teachers, have mentors. And that's really important for me. Coming from my background, I believe in mentoring teachers for their first and second year. I believe that we lose many great educators because of lack of support, especially in the beginning. So I have brand new, fresh out of college teachers on my campus, and we really try our best to support them in what they're doing and the challenges that they are having in their classroom that they may not have been expecting. Next steps, continue to monitor PLCs for relevance and effectiveness. Goal 2 is to analyze our iReady data. Evidence, inform teacher, and identify student strengths and weaknesses. Supporting evidence, establish small group instruction. This is huge in all of our classrooms. We do target those small groups and use that iReady data to group those students together so that when they are struggling in a particular area, we try to group them with other students that can help them or that may also be struggling, so we can kind of bring them all up at the same time. And it's been pretty effective. Use intervention for remediation. We have an intervention period. We ask our teachers to look at that iReady data and to give us plans on how they're going to use that intervention time so that they can bring those scores up. Reflect practices and collaborate with peers. We do offer our teachers, we give them that time to group themselves together with their colleagues so that they can look at that data and see how we can help each other. One of the things that we found is that we are lacking in our reading iReady scores, then that actually transfers over to a lot of our electives. Because when they're reading prompts in art or in Mr. Spellman's in his technology class, if that reading proficiency is not there, it does translate into those classes as well. So there's a way for them to all work together so we can bridge that gap across the curriculum. Evidence revealed, there is a lack of participation in a lot of those tests. What we've noticed is that the number of kids that we have taking the test are not exactly the number of kids we have in the school. So there is a lack of attendance on a lot of those testing days. And then to get them back into school to retake those tests has been a challenge. So we have really hit the fact that we need them to come to school, we need them to be present, and we need them to be ready to take the test. Next steps, continue to establish relationships and share data with students and parents. One of the things that we found is that parents sometimes are not aware of this data, whether or not it's that the child themselves are not taking the data home or that they aren't getting the data from the school. So we are trying to figure out different ways to get that data out there to them so that they are aware of exactly what those kids are testing in. Goal 3, we will provide social and emotional support for students and staff. I say again, students and staff. This is a challenging year, and it has been draining for students as well as for staff. So we are focusing on social and emotional help for students. And we look at our counselors. We're trying to bring in outside people to help them through this time, because coming back to school after being home or being on the internet or however they did school for the last year and a half, it is a challenge for them being in these school buildings. And it's a challenge for our teachers as well. So we are focusing on development for those students and for those teachers. We continue to offer safe and family-friendly extracurricular activities. Right now, we have a home basketball game going on right now against Burt T. I did catch some of the girls' game in the beginning, and I am going back to catch the rest of the boys' game at the end. But we have had very successful seasons. Our football season was extremely successful this year. So our kids are enjoying being back in the sports, and it's been good for us. Question?
I know you've got to get back to a game, but you mentioned mentoring for the beginning teachers. That was a research interest of mine in a previous life. It seemed like How does our mentoring program here compare to Arizona, where you spent so much of your career?
It's very different. I will say the mentoring that I come from in Arizona, when I worked for ASU, we partnered with TFA
Mm-hmm.
for first and second year students.
Mm-hmm.
So it was us and them going into classrooms consistently. It isn't up to that what I'm used to there. But I do think that what we are doing with our teachers at River Road, we're partnering them with veteran teachers that are somewhere within their area. So that veteran teacher usually has a really good classroom management etiquette, which was important for me.
Right.
And it has gone a long way into them realizing who their teacher person is. And I tell my new teachers that all the time is you have the person that you are, and then there's your teacher person. And a lot of teaching is figuring out who that person is. And they've done really well. I will say that I'm very excited about what I see from my first year teachers.
I'd love to have more conversation with you about what can we borrow from your experience in Arizona to improve and enhance our teacher mentoring program. So thank you for that. That unexpected question I shot at you. Thank you.
I just like to make a comment. I love that you are looking for the support of your staff and the students both. And I love when you put about relationships, because I think that's half the battle.
It is.
If you get the relationship between staff and
Yes,
students, I
75%. I
Yes.
think it was more than half.
I think you've done great.
Thank
Do you utilize your older students as well?
I would like to say yes to that. However, what we have noticed is those eighth graders that we do have, they are the ones that haven't been in the school that much.
Mm-hmm.
And not that the sixth and seventh graders have, but as eighth graders, even though they're supposed to be your senior class at a middle school, they really haven't been there for sixth and seventh grade.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a different dynamic than what is ordinary for a middle school. Our sixth grade and our eighth grade are our strongest classes. Our seventh grade is, we're getting there. But so it's more spread out. So we can't really use them as we normally would an upper class, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
Mentioned the absences. And what is your plan for that? I know you said they were absent on some test days, but you didn't share what your plans are to
I
combat that.
honestly feel like we do a whole lot with Parent Square this year.
Mhm.
We do a whole lot with just cold calling, and emails. And it really is just a barrage of information. If we can get it out there as much as we can, sending whatever, I just think that at this point, sending the regular letter that we have home that kind of says, this is what the testing is coming out, we have to do a little bit more than that. And that's where we are right now, and that's what we did with the iReady testing. And I just think we have to keep doing that so we get the actual number of kids in the building up that take the test.
Mhm. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for Dr. Bond? Okay, thank you. All right, now we will have Dr. Tina Waples from Sheep Harney Elementary.
Good evening. There we go. Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Pereza, board members, Superintendent Ingram, community members, colleagues. I am Dr. Katina Jones-Waples, the proud, humble, and blessed principal of Sheep Harney Elementary, and I would like to present to you our school's Consolidated Improvement Plan. Before I get started, I would like to thank our staff, students, parents, and the community for their hard work and their dedication to our school.
I would especially like to thank our leadership team and our SIT team members. Without you, none of this would be possible. Teamwork always makes the dream work, and I appreciate everything that you guys do for us every day. Who are we? Sheep Harney has 10 pre-K and 18 K-5 classes for a total of 443 students. Sheep Harney has the highest overall poverty rate in our district. Sheep Harney has the highest ESL population at the elementary level in our district. And for 4 consecutive years prior to COVID, 100% of our teachers met or exceeded growth expectations in EBOS. Also, for 5 consecutive years prior to COVID, she met or exceeded growth on a North Carolina report card, all of which we are very proud of. September 2016, this is when we made the headlines. This was our year of change. We went from a school of low performing to a school of performance. So we moved from a D to a C. Here is our data. Like to just, so when I came to Sheep Harney, mid-year, the first year, the test results for the previous year were 40%. After my first year, well, at the end of my first year being there, we were 53%. After my first full year being there, we went to 61%, then followed by 65% overall proficiency, and then 62%. Pre-COVID, so March of 2020, prior to closing down, we did a benchmark. 72% of our students in grades 3 through 5 had passed the EOG benchmark. So we were excited. Of course, schools closed and we weren't able to show up and show out our magic. But we are prepared to do. You see the line that I drew? That's the low performing line. So as you can tell, since that I've been at that school, consistently, we have not touched that low performing line. And as a team, we are committed to never going back. Our challenges and our growth opportunities. Well, first of all, I want to tell you that when we were last school year, only 22% of our students returned to the building. And that's just by choice. On a daily average, we only had about 17 to 20% actually come to school. Many would stay home and chose to do optional or virtual. Some would not log on at all. So this year we knew with our kids coming back 100%, we had some challenges. So what we did right out the gate is we spent the first 2 weeks of the school year building relationships. We built relationships with our students. We built relationships with our staff. And we had to work really, really hard to convince our parents, because if you remember, if only 22% wanted their children back, they were very concerned with them entering school this year. So we had to work really hard in helping them understand our COVID protocols, safety, routines, structures, all of the things that would be necessary for our students to be successful back in the building. So we spent a lot of time doing that, and it has worked out very well. So moving forward for the rest of this year, our goals will be, goal number 1, we're going to work on personalized education for all students. And I put all students in cap because that is very important that we are meeting the needs of every one of our students. In order to raise student achievement, we know that you have to raise the floor and the ceiling at the same time in order to close achievement gaps, so that we're doing that. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to continue to build teaching capacity and teacher effectiveness of all of our teachers. We're going to provide explicit and data-driven small group instruction for all of our students in their core areas. And we're going to teach for standards mastery. That's what we're doing academically for our students every day. Goal number 2, we're going to continue to enhance and build a strong sense of community and relationships. As I said, we work really hard with our parents, our students, our staff, our community to help our students integrate themselves back into the building safely. We're going to support the social and emotional well-being of our students and our staff, and we do that every day by just during the small group instructions, our teachers take time to just have conversations with our kids. We have check-in and check-outs with students that we know that are high risk. We know that during COVID, we have several of our students that have lost caregivers, siblings, and we're aware of that. So we really are just very cognizant of what our students need, as well as our staff. Our third goal is we're going to ensure the safety of our students, our staff, and the community during this pandemic. Again, we're just working really hard to be cognizant to follow all COVID protocols based on the North Carolina Strong Schools Toolkit and following all district guidelines. Our objectives. So we're going to continue data-driven small group instruction that is differentiated in all K-5 classrooms. We will continue to work on professional development that focuses on weekly PLCs, differentiated new teacher support, so that we don't give teachers all the same thing. We give them what they need to be successful. We'll continue to do teacher reflections, grade level and one-on-one data meetings with administration after all progress monitoring and formative assessments. We'll do double dose of small group interventions for our students who need extra academic support. And we will continue to progress monitor with weekly teacher-based assessments, biweekly or as needed grade level common assessments, and quarterly school benchmarks, because it has shown over the years that has been highly effective for our school. How will we reach our goals this school year? First thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're supporting our staff. If they're coming to school ready and happy, then our students are going to do the same, and that's going to trickle down to them, and that's exactly what we want. We are going to continue to improve student performance based on research-based practices. We're going to use data-driven instruction based upon the North Carolina standards, and we're going to use comprehensive data analysis. And at the end of the day, we're going to always keep our students first in everything that we do. That is our commitment to our students. I have here our proposed spending plan. We're going to focus in this spending plan on professional development, student achievement, instructional supplies. Allocated funds will be used to close all teaching, learning, and achievement gaps for all students. The most amount of money that we plan on spending at this point is $17,000 for tutoring. We are going to have tutoring done by our staff because our staff know our students. They will not be doing it for their own students because that goes against board policy. But they will be teaching students and they'll be building the relationships with those kids. For example, the goal would be if you're a third grade teacher, knowing that you're going to have second graders next year, knowing what the standards look like, we would focus on having our third grade teachers do tutoring for our second grade students. And so that way we can meet the needs of our students through that. And then also we're going to use just other instructional supplies, again, to work towards closing those achievement gaps for our students. Any questions?
I would just like for you to share, because I like your PLC structure. Would you share one of those research-driven practices that you may have talked about in a PLC or your teachers may have that's actually used in a classroom?
Yes. So for example, today I was working with a group of teachers and we were going over the first quarter benchmark test.
Mm-hmm.
So we were looking at data analysis and the unpacking documents and really working with them to say, okay, if our students in first grade can do this, but this is what's required of second grade, and we have students that have mastered that objective, and that was this is a comprehensive test. So many of our, this is the same test each quarter. If we've already had students in first grade that have mastered a concept for the year, how can we push them so they're not sitting in class for it? Well, we're going to introduce them second grade concepts through a way where they can build and create activities and things in their classroom. So working with teachers on those, that vertical alignment, how does this all tie together? So that way, the goal is to always make this year's student very comfortable when they get to next year's grade level. So working with the teachers on that.
I'll just say that I think the data speaks for itself. Well done.
Thank you.
Great.
You're keeping where we are with COVID in the forefront. I appreciate that you recognize that you have children who've lost family members and, you shared that. I think that's very important, that even though we realize we're going through this pandemic and what we have to do as far as making sure that our students are still continuing to excel, we have to think about the reality of the situations they may face outside of school. I think that's important. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Can you get through your whole presentation again? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Wakeful.
Are there any questions for Dr. Spencer regarding any of the plans? Okay, at this time, I want to make a motion to approve PE 04 for Hl Trigg, PE 05 for JC Sawyer, PE 06 for NHS, PE 07 for River Road, and PE 08 for Sheep Farming.
I'll second.
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence,
Yes?
Dr. Sheila Williams,
Yes.
George Archuleta,
Yes.
and Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Right, that's it for us.
Thank you again, principals, for your reports. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Houston, our policy code chair.
Good
We're
evening.
going to
again.
call on Ms. Sawyer.
Sorry. Good evening again, everybody, and I would like to turn this over to Ms. Tammy Sawyer.
Good evening, Chair Warden, Vice Chair Pereza, Interim Superintendent Ingram, colleagues, and community members. I do not have any additional updates on the policies presented to you on November the 15th in committee meetings. Are there any questions before I request approval? With no questions, this evening I would like to request approval of PC 01 without revision and all listed policy updates as presented in accordance with policy 2420.
Could we get a second?
Second? I thought she had to make a motion.
Do we need a motion for?
I thought she had to make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. So I move to approve PC 01 without revision and all listed policy updates as presented in accordance with policy 2420.
Second.
Thank you. Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence,
Yes?
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
George Archuleta.
Yes.
And Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Is there anything else for policy committee? Does anybody have any questions?
No, I
Then-
don't believe so, Ms. Houston. Thank you.
That's for us.
Ms. Sawyer, you didn't have anything?
No, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Dr. Williams, will you take us into closed session, please?
Yes, I motion for the board to go into closed session as allowed by NC General Statute 143 through 318, 11A6, for the purpose of considering one or more personnel matters that are confidential under NC General Statute 115C through 320, and is allowed by NC Statute 143-318, 11A3, to consult with the board attorney regarding matters protected by the attorney-client privilege and to preserve that privilege.
She needs a second on that one?
Second.
Okay. Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Rodney Walton is not present this evening. Daniel Spence,
Yes?
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
George Archuleta.
Yes.
And Virginia Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
And the board will resume open session live stream following closed session.
Thank you.